The ministers arrived. Welcome to DLA Piper's daily video blog from the Climate Change Conference in Durban, South Africa on the 7th of December 2011. Over the last few days, the ministers arrived. That will change the COP. We've been talking about from the beginning of the week how this COP got kicked off, with the presidency starting it, the president of South Africa opening it, with the agenda being adopted, and how the negotiators and country delegates have started working on individual agenda items. We're entering now into a new phase of this COP. Always at the beginning of the second week, you just get a different vibe. Security is boosted up. For example, the Hilton Hotel, which is right at the conference center, is now closed unless you live there or unless you are a minister. You cannot go to the bar anymore. And that is because the leaders, the heads of the delegations, usually ministers, are now coming in since Monday night. The airport is quite busy and you see a lot of police on the street, more than even in the first week. And the ministers are here to be briefed first by their delegates and the country negotiators on what outstanding topics could the experts, the topic experts, not agree on in the first week. And usually that's quite a long list, because the negotiators and the country delegates don't have a mandate to agree anything. It is up to the ministers to do that. So if you're in business, think a little bit of like you're preparing an entire week for the brief for your CEO or COO, and then they come into the boardroom and you have about 5 minutes to explain one of the most complicated issues. Now, if you're a CEO, you know how that feels. You have to make a fast decision with only the information available to you. So over the last 2 days, this is the main focus of most of the negotiators. They're going through those long texts and trying to, on key issues like mitigation, the gap between the commitments and the pledges, finance, how much money is available for developing countries for mitigation and adaptation, and the country delegates are going through those long contentious issues and trying to summarize each of those, because we have about 50 of those, each of those into a few bullet points, so that then they pick up the minister and they sit in the car with him to explain exactly where we are. And so summarize this 50 issues into maybe 60 or so maximum bullet points. The next step for this is now we have today, most of the ministers are on a off-site meeting. This is usually organized by the presidency, meaning South Africa, the host country, with the goal of getting them together. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing today. I'm assuming having a nice lunch, and really try on a personal level, understand each other, what the key issues are. And for each country, that might be something different. For example, you have the small island states. They're really, really keen on having pledges and targets to meet those 2-degree Celsius targets that the scientists tell us we have to achieve, mainly because they do understand that 2 meters sea level rise is a crucial issue for them, whereas maybe other developed countries are much more concerned about trade issues. And so, but with that, with the different agendas, the ministers come together, hopefully very well briefed, and trying to trash them out and really understand where can they give up and where can they give in, and where is the level of basis of consensus. And this is not just a static process. It's not like they go to this offsite, come back, everything is agreed, but they come back with more questions. They come back with more questions to the topic experts and say, well, this minister told me that's not a big issue. Why is this so problematic for us? And then they, of course, their delegates will have to do a lot of homework and try to explain and try to understand what the other minister was saying and where they're coming from. This will now develop into, or it actually has already started, the high-level segment, which is the official part of this, where the ministers are here to give public speeches. And this will go on, this has started yesterday, and this will go on all throughout Thursday. And each time a minister is done with his speech, he will go back in the back room, getting briefed and trying to understand what the other party's position is and how you can find a compromise position. So it's quite a different dynamic, where in the first week you had people working on topic issues, now they're working on real compromise. This will actually peak in probably Thursday night, and we'll talk a little bit more about it maybe tomorrow, in a high-level ministerial meeting that is much more formal than the offsites, where they really will be sitting down, and they usually take only 1 or 2 key advisors with them and negotiate all the issues that they couldn't resolve over the last 2 days. Often that does not include all the ministers, but representatives even of like regional groups or various different groupings, because there's so many people. Even if you just have the ministers, you're still talking about 194 of them, and that is quite difficult to negotiate and discuss issues things like that. So yeah, this is what's happening right now. Almost two parallel COPs, the day-to-day work with the topic experts, trying to understand where the ministers are coming from, what they want to achieve, briefing them properly, and then the ministerial level, the high level of people that only have the helicopter view, don't really understand all of the issues well, and don't have to, because they only have to be properly briefed, and then they have to make decisions towards the end of the week. And just to give you like a little bit an understanding of what that sometimes can mean, having those ministers in the high level, here's an anecdote from Copenhagen, where I ran into a senior negotiator, and I said to him, "Did you look at this particular text? What's your opinion?" And it was Tuesday, and you probably recall Copenhagen was a key meeting, and we had Barack Obama there, Angela Merkel from Germany, Sarkozy from France, and the key leaders, the Brazilian president, the Chinese, I think it was president, so very high level. And he looked at me and he said, "Alex, I'm so sorry, I haven't read anything for the last 12 hours because my minister arrived, the plane was late, and the hotel wasn't ready. They didn't do his booking, and I'm running around now the last 12 hours finding him a good space to stay in." Because at the end of the day, if the minister is not happy and doesn't have a room, that's one thing. If I do my work is another, but I can tell you I must make sure that my minister is happy while he is here in Copenhagen. And that's part of the reality. The stress level got up for all the people in the delegations. You have to make sure your minister is briefed. You have to make sure your minister is happy. You put him in a good position to actually negotiate in the interest of his country. And we're still all working for a compromise. So more to come, quite a stressful week. And well, we'll report more from that tomorrow with the DLA Piper blog. I hope you stay tuned, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.